who is us and who is them? You know, actually doing this play, it's kind of made me feel inspired again in terms of the importance of casting and diversity. I think because there's a line in it that really strikes me every time one of the other characters, Prof, says it, which is universal stories make for angry people. And I remember being a little girl and never seeing any diversity on screen, and how that really affected my ideas, particularly around lovability and attraction. And actually even Jimmy Carr's latest show, which makes a horrific joke about people with dwarfism being basically, you know, the failed abortion survivors, which is just horrific. So that's the kind of prejudice, I guess, that exists in our society. And so for me, being a little girl with dwarfism growing up and never seeing any diversity on screen, never even seeing a woman that was a little bit like less attractive or ordinary looking, I was really affected by that. And then the line in the play, universal stories make for angry people, it made me realize that that alienation, because I never saw, you know, true representations of difference where human beings were just human on our screens. This play's really kind of given me a kick up the butt and gone, wow, no, diversity is still so important. So who is us and who is them? I think we live in a body fascist society, and I think us, which I wouldn't be considered part of in our society on a superficial level, don't get me wrong, I've got great self-esteem, so I'm just talking about the world we live in, is still kind of a body fascist, white, heteronormative, although that's opening up a little bit more, but it's still mostly a white, non-disabled, heteronormative, homogenous, imaginary group of people, and them is everyone that can be othered from that group. I mean, I know that, you know, every group discriminates to a degree, so, you know, we all experience othering, but just realizing how fake the life stories Hollywood and television keeps trying to sell us, because there are so many real fleshy human bodies that just aren't invited and aren't included. So I think us are the body fascists, and them is everybody who's organic and just a little bit not perfect, in inverted commas, because like I said, I don't have low self-esteem. I really love me. So in them, I play a chat show host. Who would I most like to have on my sofa in real life? That's a really hard question. A few years ago, it would have definitely 100% been Stephen Fry. Like, I still love you, Stephen Fry, but if I could only invite one guest, who would it be? Oh, this is so difficult. Okay, no, I know, but it's impossible because she's deceased. Am I allowed to invite a deceased person? Okay. There was an Australian disability rights activist called Stella Young. I would interview her in a heartbeat, because that woman was just a powerhouse, and I felt that actually her death was too soon, and there was so much I would have loved to have extracted from her brain. I totally identify as a disabled actor. Why? Okay. Crash course in disability. I always feel I need to cover this. A lot of people would look at me and go, oh, you're just a bit small, you're not disabled. And I go, well, hang on. Put me in an average size kitchen. How am I going to make a cup of tea safely, or safely use the oven without modifications and without adaptations? So I very much see disability as being about one's relationship to the environment, social stigma, attitudes. So disability includes, you know, not just physical, but also disabilities such as challenges that mental health might present, other sorts of impairments, so that I include everybody who I guess is in some way non-normative, again, using my inverted commas, under that umbrella. And I am proud to identify as disabled, because it means I can talk about my needs and what I need to be provided to me to enable me to enable me to participate, to enable me to be included and to genuinely contribute to the society and the world that we live in. If I pretended that my body wasn't different from the average, because it is, if I was to ignore that and be like, oh, I'm just, 100% like everyone else, I wouldn't be able to talk about what it is that I need to be able to access the world around me. And I see being able to talk proudly about my disability and also meeting super cool disabled people who, if you ever feel depressed about yourself or life, find some really decent, awesome disabled friends, because they are the most amazing, adaptive, strong, passionate and interesting people I've ever met and encountered. So I am super proud to be part of the disabled community, and I don't see disability as a negative thing at all. I see it as a way of going, yeah, we are different and some of us have needs, and can you help me meet those needs so that we can all be awesome together? If I was talking to 18-year-old actress Kiruna Stamell, the advice I would give was probably the advice I was given, which was, I guess sometimes when you meet blocks and avert discrimination, which a disabled actor will, you've got to pick your battles. You've got to pick, where can I put my energy and where can I find the people that will appreciate me? And what was really interesting was some of the doors that closed in my face, as disappointing and upsetting as it was at the time. Like, I would have loved to have gone to NIDA or one of the drama schools in the late 90s and, I would have thrown myself into training with my whole heart. But if the people at that time, remembering that, my generation in Australia were probably the first to be mainstreamed and not sent specifically to a special school. So me at university knocking on those doors was sadly quite revolutionary. That for some of those teachers, blinkers, couldn't see it, not worth training me, what's the point? And on one hand, that's terrible and incredibly sad. But on the other, if they were such limited toolboxes, what were they going to teach me? So you've sometimes got to weigh up those really difficult decisions. That doesn't mean discrimination and prejudice is okay, but just keep going and remember that every rejection points you closer to the people and the doors that you should be knocking on. And I'm so sorry that the world is full of people with some of those negative ideas and really limited views of the world. And some of those people will be able to change. And some of those people just have their own issues that we've got to slowly back away from. So, if you're a disabled person hearing me talk, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a non-disabled person, the advice I give you, say yes and enable people more to participate. Don't freak out and be all anxious about, oh my gosh, can they do this? This is so awkward. Embrace the awkward and go, you deserve to be part of this. I'm going to include you. How can we do that? I would love the National Theatre of Scotland, or actually, no, let me broaden this out, all theatres, to ensure that all of their performances are accessible. I would love it if we got to the point that shows were always accessible and that, accessibility was integrated into production from the get-go so that disabled audiences always had access. I would love the free flow of casting of disabled and non-disabled actors so that disability is just present on stage, but it isn't necessarily about that. It's just there, just like we're there in real life, without it suddenly being, a major cause of an aneurysm for strangers. That's what I want, because difference and disability is so normal and organic. It's naturally occurring, yet we treat it like this taboo and like it's freakish and like it in of itself is something to laugh at. Like my body is just something to laugh at. And it's not, Jimmy Carr. Context that my body might exist in, social attitudes to my body might genuinely be hilarious because that's where the fault lies. But the fault doesn't lie in the individual's body to begin with. So I would love a theatre, a mainstream theatre, to commit to a fully integrated, possibly in the style of Grey Eye or Ramps on the Moon, panto. Every year, that they've got an integrated panto that's always fully BSL signed and captioned and fully integrate, so that at least at Christmas, just, you know, at Christmas there's always a guarantee of an inclusive production. But actually no, I go beyond that. We should be doing this across the board. Like, casting directors should be seeing people like me and people with sensory impairments, and I'd like it to be to the point that we don't even need to have this conversation anymore. Have you ever seen Speechless? I think it's been on E4. I know it was definitely HBO. Mini Driver's in it, and it is the best working class sitcom comedy I think I've ever seen. And its celebration and real life portrayal of disability is, in my opinion, pretty bloody awesome. And I just want more of that. The movie of my life. Who would play me? I really don't know. I don't think I've met the right person to play me yet, if I was casting me. I would like to think that maybe I was famous and successful enough that actually they'd just use that new CGI thing to maybe make me look 10 and 11 and 15 and then 20, and, you know, I could play myself through all the ages, even though maybe by then I'd be 110 in real life. Or I would love an ensemble of disabled and non-disabled actors to tell my life story in whatever creative and devised way that they did. So maybe no one singular actor would play me, but I might be an animation, I might be represented by a puppet and manipulated by 2 or 3 other actors. I don't know. I'd be like, let's really muck around with form.